Impact segment tonight, putting the blame on the wrong villain. 46-year-old Craig Hicks has been indicted 3 counts of first-degree murder, allegedly shooting to death 3 Muslim Arab-American students in North Carolina. 3 people totally innocent lost their lives in a vicious way. The FBI now investigating to see if there's a hate crime. Reacting to the horror, the sister of one of the victims said this.
It's currently an open season, a time where it's an open season against Islam, Muslims in Washington, Muslims in the general media, dehumanizing Muslims in movies like American Sniper.
Once again, joining us from Washington, Charles Krauthammer. I see no evidence of any anti-Muslim feeling across the country in any level, you know. And the hate crimes for the FBI, they report below double digits for Muslims. And now this woman comes out, you know, we know she's upset, but blames the movie. And what do you think?
I think it's ridiculous. I can understand her grief, and I can understand how she would speak so illogically and irrationally. But that doesn't make what she says true. In fact, I looked up the FBI statistics for violent crime having to do with hate of groups, and 60% of those were against Jews, 13.7% against Muslims. So unless you think this country is seething with anti-Semitism, you would have to say that it certainly isn't seething with anti-Muslim feeling. If anything, given the injuries that the United States and the West have suffered at the hands of Islamic radicals and terrorists, starting with 9/11, I think it's been quite remarkable how much outreach, how much sympathy. You'll remember the first week after 9/11, George Bush, the president, spoke out about tolerance for Muslims. This is not the kind of anti-Muslim sentiment that is being spoken about.
No.
If anything, I think there's been quite remarkable outreach in humanity on this.
And 1.4 million Muslims in the USA, not a lot, obviously, in a country of 320 million. Now, one of the guys who have become the spokesman of the Don't Say the Word Islam in connection with terrorism is basketball superstar Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was out again this weekend with the big NBA All-Star game, saying, look, comparing ISIS or Al-Qaeda to Islam is like comparing the Ku Klux Klan to Christianity. And you say?
Well, he had a great jump hook, but I'm not sure that he has a great analysis of what's going on in the world. Look, I mean, how much evidence does one need? The Islamic State calls itself Islamic. The Islamic State affiliate in Libya, as you said, beheads 21 Christians, announcing that they are doing it because they are Christians, speaking about, and then issuing the video. The video was issued to the Nations of the Cross. It speaks about capturing Rome. It's entirely about its interpretation of Islam. I mean, is it really so difficult for Kareem to say, or for the president to say, we don't see this as a war against Islam. We don't believe in a war against Islam. But it's an unfortunate fact that one strain of Islam, expressing itself all over the world, from Nigeria to Copenhagen to Libya to everywhere in the world, happens to believe that they are at war with other religions, Yazidis, Christians, Jews, and even Muslims with whom they do not agree and whom they consider apostates, to the point where they are willing to slaughter them in a genocidal way. Is that so hard to say?
It apparently is a slur against Islam. And I've tried to reason with Mr. Jabbar. I've tried to tell him that, look, it's not you and the majority of the peace-loving Muslims, but it is a situation where the peace-loving Muslims have got to start to get a hold of the non-peace-loving Muslims. That's my take on it. If all the Muslim nations would crack down on these people, then the problem would be on its way to being solved. Last word.
Well, the last word is that this president seems incapable of saying the obvious. The fact is, you pointed out that they would issue a statement today identifying the victims as Egyptian citizens.
Right.
That would be as if you were describing a lynching of a black man in the South 100 years ago, and saying there was a lynching last week of a citizen of Georgia or Alabama or whatever, without speaking about the racial content of that. And that's, to me, that's a willful ignorance.
And the motive for the crime was stated. They're Christians. We want to kill them because they're Christians, not because they're Egyptians. So it's even worse.
The beginning of understanding any enemy is to understand exactly what he's about. Otherwise, you are utterly disarmed in dealing with him.
All right, Charles. Thanks as always. Directly ahead, Karl Rove on Hillary Clinton hiring her presidential campaign staff. Rove knows these guys pretty well. And later, What is World, a President's Day edition. If you have kids, tell them to watch this. Those reports after these messages.